So I'm a member of Birmingham Progressive Synagogue. I'm not the most religious Jew, and Progressive Judaism is about bringing Judaism into the contemporary world, and it's an inclusive approach where men and women and LGBT people are treated equally. We have a woman rabbi, some of you I'm sure will know, Margaret Jacobi. Um, I'm also a member of Nisan Nashim, which is a grassroots local group and part of a national network of local groups of Jewish and Muslim women learning together about each other's culture. We have a book club where we read each other's authors. And yesterday we were linking over Holocaust Memorial Day, and we're campaigning to raise awareness of persecution of Uyghur Muslims, which has echoes of Nazi and other genocides. Andrew, I hope we might circulate details about a meeting we have coming up on the 22nd of February, further down the line. So it's a small Jewish community here in Birmingham. There are 2 Orthodox synagogues alongside our progressive synagogue, a few hundred families, and nationally Jewish people make up just about less than 0.5% of the population. So it's a small community. So Andrew asked me first of all to talk about silence in Judaism. And my response was, there is hardly any silence in Judaism. It's all words and text, so many words. And last week I attended the session about light and symbolism, the symbolism of light. And I'm not sure about this, but I feel as though there is symbolism in Judaism, but I'm not sure there is as much symbolism. Whereas there are very many words, and words feel very much at the core of our practice. So Hebrew is the language of prayer, although traditionally it's never been the language of daily speech. But if you go to a synagogue in Brazil or in China or here in the UK, it'll be the same text in the same language in Hebrew, though there may be different pronunciation. And Hebrew and Arabic grew out of the same roots, and many of the letters are similar, and the names of the letters, and we share many words like shalom, salam, tzedakah, we have the same word. And in fact, Nisan Nashim, the organization, means women in both Arabic and Hebrew. So Jews are sometimes called the people of the book, and our book is a scroll, and the text is written in Hebrew, the Torah in the scroll, which is the 5 books of Moses. And that is our core text. The first part of the Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament, is nearly the same thing. And many of the prophets in the Torah are also revered in Islam and in Christianity, of course. So we read from the Torah scroll every week in the synagogue at the Shabbat service. And the scroll feels to me like an embodiment of the words, this core text, and it's treated as an object with great respect. And when I visited a Gurdwara, I felt I was getting similar sort of overtones about the Sikh holy book, treated with respect, almost like a human person. And the scroll is dressed in a beautiful embroidered mantle with silver bells that hark back to the priests in the temple. And you carry it, it's quite a big thing. It feels a little like holding a baby against your shoulder. And the scroll is carried in a procession through the synagogue every week. But we're clear that we're not worshipping the book, we're reading the words and we're talking about them. So this core central text is fixed, and the same text is written. I only learnt this recently. The same text is written in the same column in every scroll. But around this core text, it feels like a sea of centuries of study and written discussion of the text and commentary and different interpretations. And it's not just the rabbis that read and interpret. Everyone is expected to interpret and debate the meaning of the texts. So it's a centuries-long tradition, and the rabbi is a teacher rather than an intermediary with God. So there's a great emphasis on literacy in Judaism. So everyone, even the poorest peasants in the shtetl where my family would have originated from in Eastern Europe, the poorest people and the richest would learn to read Hebrew in order to read the Torah. And my mum told me, I didn't know this morning, that they used to put honey on the slate for a child that was first going to learn to read. So they would associate sweetness with learning to read. And the bar or bat mitzvah, the coming of age at 13, that ritual is that you have to learn to read and recite or sing from the Torah portion. And the young person gives their commentary on the text that they've learned to read. They give a Devar Torah, which means speaking about the Torah. So that feels to me very egalitarian, that everyone should have direct access and understanding of the core text and study the rabbinic commentary and discuss the commentary and points for discussion. But when I say everyone, traditionally, it would be the boys and the men who would learn to read. And still in Orthodox Judaism, girls and women are not allowed to touch the Torah or read directly from the Torah. So I think that history of egalitarian access to literacy may have been a male access. There would be lots to say about the gendered nature of Hebrew and how it's translated into English. In our tradition, in the progressive tradition, it's made not gendered, but the Hebrew remains gendered. So Jews have been dispersed in the diaspora for 2000 years or more, and Jews around the world speak many, many different languages, with Hebrew at the core of prayer. So as a child, I was sent to Cheder, to religion school, to Sunday school, and I learned to read Hebrew. Not very well. One morning a week is not enough to learn to read it really fluently, but I can pick my way through. But I'm struck that for very many of us here, we're working in translation, or our children are learning the language of prayer as a second language. And even the Church of England is working with texts translated from Greek. And there are lots of questions about who can read and who gets access to the original text, which I think would be very interesting to discuss. But I'd like to finish by, I've chosen one word that represents Judaism for me. The word that I would choose, and every Jew I'm sure would choose one or possibly two different words. The word I've chosen is mitzvah, which has different meanings and usage. So mitzvah means the commandment or the law. So a bar or bat mitzvah means the son or daughter of the law, that coming of age, bar or bat mitzvah. But in common usage, a mitzvah means a good deed that's worthy of a blessing. And Judaism teaches us all to live well, to act well, not in order to earn a place in heaven, but simply for its own sake. So by your acts to live as a good human being. And I feel that here we're sharing a mitzvah. Andrew has made a mitzvah bringing us together, and our mitzvah that we're sharing is to listen and hear and learn about each other's faiths. So that feels very precious here in Birmingham.